what's going to happen now, because it's going to ask me for a password. And that shouldn't have happened, because I should have just opened it up. I mean, it should have been like this, yeah. Something like this should have happened, but this isn't going to well. This is why I never use PowerPoint.
They'll never catch on.
Yeah, there we go. That's basically the thing. And we can look at it with all kinds of things. We all buy clothes we don't really need. We buy them. We amass a wardrobe full of stuff that we don't really wear very often. We don't need it, but when we bought it, we wanted it. There's all these things. And you might be selling something that people want. You might be selling holidays. You might be selling nice stuff like that, which is good. You may be selling stuff that you think is boring. People aren't going to be interested in it like that. They're not going to want it like they do a laptop or a car or a new jacket, which I probably need. But either way, you can still make people want to buy from you. You can still define yourself and be different and make them want you. I turned on the TV the other night. It's not often that I turn on the television and see a politician on the television and they say something and I think, oh, I'll use that in my talk at 4am. It's not often that happens. I turned on Newsnight and it was Evan Davis and he was interviewing Boris Johnson. And I came on, it was midway through and I had no idea what and Johnson was saying, they were talking about how politicians communicate with people. And they looked at some clips of various politicians from the different parties, and Boris Johnson just looked at them and he kind of laughed a bit. And he said, yeah, we all do it. He said, I do it as well. And he said, but if you want people to understand your message, you've got to use simple language. And then he went into the Winston Churchill speech. We shall fight. Oh, sorry, Peter. I had planned this. I didn't think you were going to be here. We shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight in the hills. We shall fight. And right at the end of that speech, he said, "We shall never surrender." And surrender is the only Latin-derived word in that whole speech. All the others are these short Anglo-Saxon and Norse-derived words. It's a very short and sharp, and everyone understands straight away what they mean. And when you think of some of the most famous political speeches from history, well, I can't remember very many. I'm trying to think which ones I can actually think of off the top of my head. There's Abraham Lincoln, government of the people, for the people, by the people. There was FDR, the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. There was John F. Kennedy, wasn't there? Didn't ask. Was it? Yeah, was that one, yeah. Was it ask not what your country can do for you, what you can do for your country? They aren't very, very long words in these. These are all quite short, sharp things. And Boris Johnson was saying this. He was right, I have to agree with him. And he said, what did he actually say? He said, if you want to be heard, you have to speak plainly. He said, you can't engage in an argument if it's swallowed in a load of waffle that no one can get to grips with. But businesses do this. And I thought he's kind of an interesting example as well, because whenever you think of him, you might think he's great and want to vote for him as Prime Minister. You might think he's an absolute crap. Either way, you know who he is. When I said Boris Johnson, everyone knew who he was. He stands out. He has actually got brand identity. And that's something that you really need to think about in your business as well. Right, we're going to do my thingy now. We're going to do the thing where you'll hold up the thing. And I'm just to sit down a little bit. Sorry, or 5 minutes. Well, that's perfect, because I reckon that this would take 5 minutes. We'll find out now. So there's this old copywriting formula that goes back. It goes back to the late 1800s, I believe. It originated somewhere in America, and it's a simple 4-letter formula. Although there's a 5th letter that you can chuck in there. And Jeremy's got the first one, so let's have a look at the first one. And that's A. It's like a recipe for when you write any message. You've got to get people's attention to start with. A for attention. So that's the first one. And that could be, I mean, that may not necessarily be what all completely tied in with what you write. It may be a picture that gets people's attention. It could well be the headline. As headlines get overlooked as well. How many times have you been to a website where there ain't much of a headline? And I think it's a missed opportunity. You've got to have something that's attention grabbing. And then the next thing, which Drew's got, is interest. And this is the next stage in the process, if you like, because if you're not interesting, well, quite frankly, no one's going to stay with you. And the way, of course, to be interesting is to be relevant to that person that you're trying to reach. The next thing, which Jay's got, is the desire. Because you've got to,
there you go, Jay.
because you've got to,
People want you now.
you've got to create that desire in people to buy from you. And this is all tied in because, of course, you will come up against objections as well, and you've got to, sometimes you have to address the objections head on, but there will always be a degree of resistance to buying from you. So you've got to make sure that the desire overcomes that resistance. The next one, which we're going to actually zip to Claire first of all. So, and Claire's got A, which is action, because you need to get people to take action, and quite often you look at things and there's, so we have wise 4 just held up again. So it's AID, AIDA, so it's just a real old copywriting form, but you can use that for almost anything, whether you're writing a website, a brochure, an email, anything. But there's also another one which Justine's got, which has been, in more recent years, they've put in there, just before the action, is C, confidence. Sometimes it's conviction. But this is essentially that you've got to give your prospect the confidence to buy from you, and the argument for that being put in there is that people have got more cynical and they need more evidence. So that can be things like testimonials, and you know, you've got to give people, allay people's fears, give them the confidence. So AIDCA, if you follow that formula, you'll get your message in the right order, and the action, which is what Claire held up. There's so often people don't remember to ask people at the end or tell them what they've got to do and make it clear. Even just saying, please call me, is better than not having anything at all. And it's surprising how many people don't say please when you were a kid, that was a magic word. You know, I was brought up, if I didn't say please, my mum would say to me, what's the magic word? Please. And then you go, well, we're still hardwired for that, so if someone does say please to you, you are more receptive to doing what they want. I think that's pretty much all there is to it. So I'm going to leave you with one thought, and that is before you start writing anything for your business, what you need to do is this. There's no way to put them around, but you need to do this. You need to get out of your own shoes, and then get to somewhere where you can view your business as other people see it. So yeah, a few words on beating the blank screen. Thank you.